So that if the gold comes out of the mines, it's Ugandan government, it's the Ugandan government benefiting after the export.
Currently, what we have in plan is establish a government reserve. We are initiating the process of putting in place our own reserve so that government can start saving in gold. We can have ministries saving in gold, but like I hinted earlier, it is highly capital intensive. That is why currently our greatest rescue is having as many investors as possible. We are even going for different partnerships in avenues, and we are expanding the market day in and day out. So far, we have quite a number of refineries, but the best would be government having in place its own reserve. Also, with the forthcoming Uganda National Mining Company, it should be able to fully stabilize and carry out all our commercial interests.
And what time frames are we looking at?
The Uganda National Company is already in formation. We are just in need of money. We need 300 billion to have it operational.
Right. Does Planet Gold Uganda own all the gold mining sites in the country? They seem to be everywhere. Everywhere you talk about gold, there's a presence of Planet Gold Uganda.
Not at all. Planet Gold Uganda is not a gold mining company. Planet Gold is an organization that is looking at seeing how best we can sensitize as many people in the gold mining sector as possible to deviate from the use of mercury. Because about 73% of the artisanal miners in Uganda use mercury as part of their mining process. And all research has shown that this is hazardous to their health, and also it is not recommended anywhere in the world for mercury to be used. So Planet Gold is on that mission, and we are working hand in hand with them as a ministry to see that we stretch out to as many mines as possible to sensitize our people to do away with mercury and look at more sustainable and responsible ways of mining. It is quite hard because mercury seems to make the work easier for them, but it is not recommendable.
Why is Uganda still stuck in the old ways of mining gold that are below accepted standards? 73% of these artisanal miners using mercury, that's a very, very big percentage.
It is.
Years later, even after the discovery of gold, why are we still stuck behind?
It's because the mining sector is quite limited. You are either into artisanal mining. The next step there is small-scale mining, medium-scale, and large-scale. Now, you can imagine the capital range, as per the ministry guidelines here for artisanal mining, is from 0 to 100,000 USD. Above 100,000 to 10 billion Ugandan shillings is small-scale mining. Now, if you cannot afford within that range, you would automatically be forced to remain using rudimentary tools over time, which unfortunately is where unfortunately, is where most of our people lie, especially in the gold mines that are up country.
Some link. I've seen it. Okay. With gold exports soaring to over 455 million US dollars in just 1 month, and that was just May, gold has become the crown jewel of our economy. But the question is, how can ordinary Ugandans tap into the different opportunities, available opportunities in the gold value chain? Today on this channel, we're having a conversation with the leading voice of Uganda's mineral sector. Hon Phiona Nyamutoro is the Minister of State for Mineral Development. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Henry.
You want to say hi to the viewers and listeners?
My regards to everyone that is watching us from different parts of the country. Thank you for joining in today as we venture into a great discussion of the gold business in the country.
Yeah.
One of the most asked after minerals that I have received several questions since I got into office. Everybody's interested in gold. Everybody wants to know how best can they venture into the business, or how is the country benefiting?
Right, and I'm sure there are so many opportunities out there. We'll be talking about them in just a bit. But first, where do we stand as a country? How many tons of gold does Uganda produce annually?
Approximately right now, we can authoritatively say 2.5 tons monthly, and averagely 30 tons annually in terms of export.
30 tons, that if you're to convert that into, for example, the amount of money that Uganda is able to get, we know that gold is a very significant mineral. It should be driving Uganda's economy and development agenda. We convert that in terms of money. How much money are we looking at, for example, per quarter, or per quarter, how much we benefit, or even a year? On what position is it in our exports?
It depends, because the price is not static. It varies from time and again, depending on the world market. Say, for instance, you could find a kilo of gold today going for 65,000, and then tomorrow it is 80, the other day it is 100. So the quarterly estimates would depend on the market price at the moment. But if we are looking at 2.5 tons a month, then we would be looking at about 10 million.
Yeah.
Quarter.
Let's look into gold's position in our exports.
And 10 million, we are speaking in terms of dollars. Yeah?
Dollars, yes. When you look at other countries that do produce gold or export it, looks like Uganda is still lagging behind. What are the challenges? Why do people think gold is only benefiting the wealthy?
It's not true that gold is only benefiting the wealthy. I think one of the greatest hindrances we have as a country is that the mineral sector in general, not just gold, is highly capital intensive. So for you to be able to benefit from any mineral, most of the precious ones as gold, you really need to have a lot of capital, which many of our local citizens cannot accumulate on their own. So we end up rallying for investors that come and put in massive investments of 100 million USD and above to billions and billions of shillings. Now it is very hard to get individuals who are Ugandans, or even consortiums, or even just companies that can be able to put together that capital. That is what has challenged us. You can imagine our first gold discovery stretches as far as 1939. District.
1939.
Buhejri district. And today, Buhejri is still the least developed gold industry that we have. The majority of people that are dealing in gold there are still artisanal miners. So the biggest challenge we have is capital.
And of course, there's so many countries exporting gold too. But after these gold exports are shipped, where do they go?
To the world market, and of course, most of the gold that is shipped is privately owned. So the direct benefits go to the private owners. Government of Uganda benefits in different ways. Comes with opportunities in the value chain for our people, but we have an export levy that is on each kilogram that is exported. That is $200.
$200 for each kilogram. So that's where, along the value chain, that's where government comes in.
Yes, that's where government comes in. But then, of course, they are also tasked with paying the other taxes, income, VAT, and all.
Just tax for government. But why doesn't the Ugandan government own all the gold mines in Uganda? So that if the gold comes out of the mines, it's Ugandan government. It's the Ugandan government benefiting after the export.
Currently, what we have in plan is establish a government reserve. We are initiating the process of putting in place our own reserve so that government can start saving in gold. We can have ministries saving in gold, but like I hinted earlier, it is highly capital intensive. That is why currently our greatest rescue is having as many investors as possible. We are even going for different partnerships in avenues, and we are expanding the market day in and day out. So far, we have quite a number of refineries, but the best would be government having in place its own reserve. Also, with the forthcoming Uganda National
propping up in
company,
the place,
it should be able to fully stabilize
the artisanal miners
progressed greatly for commercial. And I've always told people.
And what time frames are we looking at?
The kind of profit that you have in is already information. That is why we are trying to see that we push of money to normalize the debate on the mineral sector to be as normal as any other sector in the country. We want people to be talking about minerals as much as they talk about agriculture. That they do. I think that is the best way we shall have Ugandans tap into these different opportunities. And not just gold. Today, it is our focus, but we have many other minerals that are barely untapped into. And I think it should be Ugandans to start as we look out for huge investment.
So if they can't be miners, they can be dealers, what other opportunities along the value chain can they tap into?
Provide services.
Yeah.
Provide services along the way. They could be different service providers because currently, you are aware the president put a ban on export of raw materials. So it means we cannot export gold in its raw form. It goes through the entire value chain while it is still here. We export up to 9999. That's code raw 4, like 99.99% purified gold. By the time it reaches that level, there is a lot of activities that go on there Ugandans could offer, besides the labor along the way.
Right. I know you have ambitions, since you're now the leading voice in the mineral sector. We, as a country, we are not where we are supposed to be in terms of the earnings from gold export. Where do you see us as a country going in terms of increasing our expected revenue from the export?
You remember during the budget reading of this year, the ministry, the mineral sector in particular, was one of those sectors that was highlighted as the forecast anchors of development in Uganda. So we are looking at pushing it as far as contributing 10% or more to the GDP in the next 10 years. The mineral sector is the only sector in the country that can give us the money to balance up our deficit budget. but it requires investment before we can reach there.
Right. A lot of investment, and for your ambitious target for these earnings that we're looking at, where do you think we'll be in the next 10 or 15 years?
The next 10 or 15 years, we shall have our own reserves. We shall have Bank of Uganda saving in terms of gold. We shall have ministry trading and saving in gold. And I think we shall also be trading using the gold coin, which would make our currency have more value.
Yeah. What took us long to get there?
To the gold coin?
Yes.
We are in the process already. We already have samples of formulation, and Bank of Uganda is in the process of seeing it that, one, we can get to the public.
What will be
for common people to start saving using the gold coin as well?
Right. What will be the key interventions or undertakings from government to greatly increase revenue the country gets from gold plus other minerals?
Begin with investment in exploration. Once we invest in exploration, exploration is like a capital tap. We then reutilize it for the benefit of our people.
And looking at some of the questions here, I'm trying to look at what people are asking. The young people asking about the jobs in the gold value chain. Where are the jobs? Where do they begin from? Where should they start from?
We needed to do this interview in a gold refinery. Yeah. I think next time I should get permission from one of the refineries and we go through the process so that from the word go, from the gold as it is brought in from the mine, we go step by step on what processes it goes through and where the young people is more understood physically than us speaking in words. It sounds like as if we are narrating a movie.
Yeah, maybe we should do that next time. I know government is really now more sensitive to environmentally sustainable ways in mining of gold. So, what measures are being taken to prevent illegal mining activities, illegal gold mining? You recently were almost shot in the field because you're trying to put an end to illegal miners. So, how will government ensure that gold mining is done in a very environmentally sustainable way, but also prevent illegal mining of gold?
The first is that as a prerequisite from the ministry, we don't license you if you don't have the NEMA certificate, the Environmental Social Impact Assessment certificate. And that safeguards us and the environment where you are going to mine from any future hazards that would be predicted along the assessment. Now, that is an initiative by government of ensuring that mining is done responsibly and sustainably by the people. Secondly, is that we look forward to seeing that we take time, because in the mining sector usually people neglect all the other dangerous hindrances that come along with it and just mind about what they can get at that time to sell. For instance, when you look at our regulations, we do not encourage artisanal miners to go beyond 10 meters. But you'll find some incidences where they're going beyond 10 meters. 10 meters simply means you're digging a hole that is going to bury you. It can easily collapse on your head. We've had incidences where people are actually dying in this process. And you will still find others going ahead to neglect all the advice we put out there. Now, on illegal mining is one of those vices that is also hard to curb because it is, I don't want to say understandable, for lack of a better word. It is expected that people are lured into the business, are attracted into the business illegally, and we are trying to make them understand that there is actually no reason why you should be illegal, because we have requirements are basic. There is nothing out of the way that is required for you to submit that you can't afford to do.
Just have to have the capital. And then the rest, and then...
But you can imagine at artisanal mining level, we even go as low as 0. It simply means you start with what you can.
Yeah.
But please make sure that you are formalized before you do what? Before you start.
I know that you're doing a lot to make sure that the industry is more lucrative than you found it. But what sort of incentives now exist to attract investment? The revenues we were talking about earlier can only be achieved when there is investment.
When there is investment. We have a lot of subsidies that we do give investors. And some of the subsidies include a long stay. Like, for example, if you're coming in as a medium or large-scale investor, we give you a minimum of 21 above. So you are guaranteed of security to start with, but we also usually help them acquire land. Incidences where they need extra land outside of the mining area. Work hand in hand with the investment authority and the investment to ensure that investors are well settled in and acquire land.
There's a feeling that there is more support from government going to the wealthy dealers, and artisanal miners are not protected. Are there things that have been put in place, measures put in place to support artisanal miners, not just measures, but also programs to have them benefit from their own craft?
Yes, currently we are trying to rally as many programs as we can as possible to see that they have access to affordable credit. And that should be able to build their muscles financially, both as artisanal miners, but also to be able to upgrade. So their main challenge has basically been capital, galvanizing capital to invest in the sector. And once we have that sorted, we are working with different financial institutions and both that are agencies of government and also private owned, in seeing that they can get the lowest credit possible to enable them run their businesses.
Uganda is currently faced with the problem of gold smuggling. Not every gold that is mined here is actually taxed. Are you aware of this? How big is the problem? And what is government's strategy to ensure all gold exports are properly not just documented, but also taxed?
We are aware of the illegal mining that is going in the country. Right now, I cannot give you an extent to which it is happening because we do not have a proper channel of gazetting to say that this is what we are losing, this is not what we are losing, because gold can be moved in any way, in any form. So unless it is passed through the official channels of exit and entry, which is the airport or official borders, via the porous borders, we would never know what we are losing. Now, one of the remedies we want to put in place is tightening our security at the borders to begin with, because that is where the problem is escalated from. We have very many porous borders that it's very easy for someone to move with gold in a suitcase and have it go to another country or any other mineral. We have seen people go out with wolfram, we see people go out with iron ore, and it is really becoming a problem. When we get done with tightening the security, we should be able also to track the movement of not just gold, but all minerals within the country. Because as you see, the transportation of minerals now is very amorphous. You can transport minerals in anything. A Benz, a motorcycle, in a lorry, and nobody would ever know that you're actually moving minerals at that point. Regulating the transportation of minerals. But most importantly, when we are done with strengthening our licensing system, we need to go back to the mines as well. There should be measurement gauges at the mines of what is being produced and let out daily. And that should be tallied with what is going out.
There's a feeling out there that there's not much transparency around the gold mining sector. Why do you think that feeling exists? Has that perception been created? And what are you going to do to ensure that there's more transparency and accountability in the gold industry?
When I got into this sector, it was very discreet. Somehow, the mineral sector in general has been very, very secret. And that is why we are pushing out for more engaging conversations. That is why we need people to become normal with speaking about the minerals that we have in the country. That's why we want gold to become as common in talk as they talk about the prices of matoke and cassava. That, in the essence of it, will be able to solve that the feeling problem has been more secondly deepened by want to the information that has quarterly declaration out there to the public of what we want to engage the public more in terms of what we have possibly lost and how much the country is making if we venture into more investment. What investments that feeling has been mostly deepened by trade information and what we forward to make out. I think that should be able to engage the mood a little in terms of giving them.
You have vulnerable groups participating in gold mining or the whole gold industry, like the youth that you do represent, and also the women that you still do represent. What programs have been put in place or do you plan to put in place to support the two vulnerable groups so they can benefit from the industry and benefit that? You have vulnerable groups participating in gold mining or the whole gold industry, like the youth that you do represent, and also the women that you still do represent. What programs have been put in place or do you plan to put in place to support the two vulnerable groups so they can benefit from the industry and benefit their participation?
The very own personal program we have done at different levels, breaking it down for them, gives them the avenue of you can start small and actually grow. Was that now the women were only as good enough been as cheap the backbone of this, but now they can women also venture have been their greatest number of miners at different levels. Breaking it down for them gives them the avenue of you can start small. We do not have particular female investors now, that the women point out to. On the other hand, have been here. The back we have reached here, but women are pushing for the greatest prioritization of in terms of mining. Smallest level, seeing to it that every mining company, for instance, has a categorization of women and youth in their administration, in high-ending jobs, but also negotiating better pay for them. One of the biggest challenges we have is that most of the complaints that have been coming in have been that, you see, these mining companies, they pay us pennies, yet we put in hard work. So we look out for those and reach out to them and ensure that they have good working conditions that are conducive for them, but also we make sure that they are not exploited.
How much would the mining license for gold go for?
A mining license? It is not for gold. We don't have categorization of that it is a license for gold. It is mineral license. Yes, the licensing process for artisanal mining to start with is 1 million shillings. Renewal is also around the same after a year. It's not a lot.
I have a question here coming in from Jeremy. He says mining contributes 2.2% of the national GDP, according to data from the Uganda National Bureau of Statistics. Uganda Bureau of Statistics. Given the earning potential of the sector, why are mining licenses extremely expensive?
They are not expensive. Like I said, every license has its fee attached to it in the ministry. For instance, if you came and applied today, the first license that you would be required to get would be an exploration license to be able to go and have research proven that actually the deposits you're looking for are in that area. That is 1 million shillings. You can even get it in as fast as 2 hours' time. A mining license, on the other hand, depending on the category of where you fall, ranges from 1 to 5 million shillings.
So they are not as expensive as we think. Okay, there's one more question here. What is the ministry's vision for Uganda's gold industry in the next 20 years? What do you need to put in place to achieve this vision?
Question is repetitive. We had already discussed
Yes, I think so.
Yes, we had already discussed that, but just for emphasis, we look forward to boosting the contribution of the mining sector from the 2% that you just earlier mentioned to 10% or more in the next 10 years.
To the GDP.
And that requires with us starting with high investment in exploration, because then we can be guaranteed of a return of investment in exactly what we want to start with, and also look out to see that we exploit the other precious minerals aside from gold. For instance, we don't have any exploitation going on in terms of diamond, but we have deposits that have been discovered in Western Uganda and in North Karamoja.
Interesting. And balancing the need for economic growth and the need to protect the rights of the local communities in where there are gold deposits, ensure that they benefit from the mineral extraction.
The need for the country to benefit in general. The local communities are already protected because, like I told you, it is a condition for every investor that before they go into full exploitation and exportation, they must have local community development agreements. And those facilitate the activities that they carry out in that area in terms of enhancing development. Now, the agreements are entirely initiated and suggested by the community. We do not take part in participating or in listing what they should do for the community. We rather enforce to ensure that what was put in the agreement is actually actualized.
Okay, let me see if there are more questions here online. Let's check them out. Okay, let's take a break. We'll return with the second half of this conversation.